Hello there, Qckslvrslash here with a World of Tanks replay today, and today I'm driving my Tier 4 British medium tank, the Matilda, on cliff in a standard battle. Now, anybody who is familiar with the Matilda knows it can be an absolute beast when top tier. Lower tier tanks often can't even penetrate it, even given a perfectly flat shot at the side. But when you're not the biggest tank in the game, you can run into some difficulties because suddenly everything's got the penetration to deal with you. You know, almost all the tier 5s can effectively penetrate the Matilda, particularly her turret. So what do you do when you find yourself in a game when you're not the biggest tank, but you still want to have a good game? And that's what I'm going to try to kind of cover with this game. So right away, you're not ever going to be, the main attack force. That is the job of the big tanks, the heavier hitters who are top tier. Your job as a middle tier or bottom tier tank is really to provide supporting fire and put in the damage and assist to get those kills quicker. So right away, I'm heading down to the 1 and 2 line to just set up in these bushes and try to use my rate of fire to catch anyone pushing this side unaware, and hopefully put some really good damage in early without really taking any in return. So I move right up to the bushes, spot an enemy locust, I just auto-lock him, hold the trigger button down, hit him twice and then bounced one off that T-46. Next on my list is this KV-1. And you can see there, right away, friendly tank gets killed, and he pushed out a little too far. You'll notice I pulled back, and he ended up eating a big shell, I'm guessing from that KV-1. But next on my hit list is this Type 91, the Tier 3 Japanese heavy tank. I make quick work of him, eating up almost all of his hit points. And now we're in a stalemate on this corner. They have a superior number and superior tiers. We're sitting here, mostly Tier 3 and 4 tanks, trying to hold a corner together. So I'm trying to just inch forward bit by bit and peek and get a line of sight onto the enemy. But seeing that the KV-1 is on low health, I really want to get shots into him to remove him because he is a huge threat. The KV-1 can do massive damage and really carry when given the chance to do so. So I'm sitting behind this dead enemy wreck that we're kind of pushing forward bit by bit, trying to look for shots over him to keep most of my tank concealed. But once the KV-1 gets killed, it's go time. I pull out and I start taking shots at this T-46. Put one in, and our arty finishes him before I get to have another shot. And that grill, I thought he did a pretty solid job this game. He communicated well, and he kept himself in it, particularly when we started to lose the advantage. So I see that enemy locust going for our base, and you have to turn around. You cannot allow particularly light tanks to sit in your base and just hope that someone else will deal with it. So I'm going to search for high ground. I want to be able to shoot down. I'll have a better view of the cap, potentially see over top any of the shorter bushes that could be concealing him. But there's this enemy T-14. And you can already see one of the big things that differentiates kind of Tier 4 from 5. He has 690 hit points. He was below half health and still, has as much as me, who's sitting at 70%. But my rate of fire and the amazing pen on this B barrel just rip right through him. And oddly enough, when I first went through the Matilda, I thought it was a terrible tank because I fitted the howitzer. I had no clue what I was doing. When I was looking at ammo types, all I ever really did was pick the one that said the most damage, not really understanding penetration mechanics. And I would say I've come a long way since then. I revisited the Matilda, I bought it again, fitted it with the B barrel, started using AP rather than HE, and suddenly I was having good games. And I picked up 3 quick kills there on the top as I went back to reset. I think that T-67 on the hill is firing at me, so I'm pulling forward as far as I can into these bushes, get that rock between me and the hill, but still have a look onto cap. So right now I'm waiting for that friendly light tank to make his way up and make the spot. We still have a bit of time left, so it's not crunch time yet, but it's starting to feel uncomfortable. And they do have a tanks lead. Any moment I could have that M4, PZ-1C, or T-67 coming up my butt. But the Locust gets spotted, and I rip into him, making short work of him and picking up a 4th kill. And enemy PZ-1C gets spotted. Start shooting at him. He wiggles around. I miss some of the shots. Managed to put one in. I really wish that had tracked him, but it didn't. And that is the one kind of downside to the Matilda. When you're fighting at farther range, you can't utilize the full rate of fire. Your aim time is just not good enough to keep up to the 1.81 seconds that my reload is on this tank with gun rammer and the crew I've got, which is just insane. And each one of those shots is 50 damage, and right up to tier 6 you can put them into enemy tanks. So really anything you see you can do damage to. It's just about waiting for the right time, because you pull out in front of a tier 6, some of them have guns that'll one-shot this thing. So with just 3 of us left and 4 of them, my plan right now is to try to stay under this ridge line. I don't want to drive out into the open and give more than one tank a line of sight on me. The T-95 just took a big hit. Luckily he dodged Artie, but clearly he was spotted. And at this point, honestly, I'm writing him off. In my mind, he's probably dead. I want to try to consolidate with that grill, get to the corner where, you know, I can control our cap, but also enemies have to come at me if they want to win. And that's what my plan is right here. With no one spotted, I just kind of slowly proceed over. Gonna use this village to the best that I can to put cover between me. Can see it going for the narrower street, because I'm guessing that M4, based on the shots that I see hit, is running the howitzer, and it may not have the best pen, but firing HE, that thing, it can wipe pretty much anyone on this map out in one hit now. And that's my fear right now. If I die, I cannot have an effect on this game and force a positive outcome that I want to see. And as I'm proceeding to the back corner, I spot a PZ-1C behind me. I quickly turn, auto lock, I fire one. And I can kind of see where he's going for, so I stop. I take manual aim, I zoom in, miss the first shot, hit the second one, and he starts to get a little bitter that I managed to do that, saying it was a lucky shot, that I should never have been able to hit him on the run. But the reality is, with the rate of fire I have, you know, you see where the first one goes and you just correct. That's one of the things I love about rate of fire tanks, and why I was particularly fond of the entire British medium line, is you're not counting on one big shell to do the damage. You can fire a shot, see how it does, and by the time you've kind of adjusted, you're ready to fire the next one. And that goes right up through the Comet. And even the Centurions, to a degree, with those 20-pounders that they get, they're still very rapid guns. So with that Panzer 1C dead, a lot of their vision advantage has been removed. The M4 still has better view range than me, but if I use concealment right, I can force him to come in, basically let me spot him first. So I pull up to this bush. I'm hoping that he's still somewhere where he was last spotted, you know, and that T-95 gets a proximity spot as he drives along that ledge. And you can see there, I didn't pick it up, but a shot actually hit right near that T-95, which must mean that the M4 is somewhere back here in the A5-6 kind of area. And had I picked up in the game, maybe I could have been ready for when he gets spotted here in a second. But I just wasn't. Artie misses a shot on that Type 95, and they're really trying to erase him from this game. And there's that pesky M4. You can still see he's on just over 300 health, which means I'm gonna have to put 6 or 7 shots minimum into him to kill him. And that is not a prospect I want, especially if he's running that howitzer. Even if he's running the rate of fire gun, like, the time I get 6 shots off and penetrate him, he could very well have me dead. He gets spotted again. I do not stop to fire until I've seen he's fired, and I put 2 quick shells in him, and then that Type 60 or T67 gets spotted, lock onto him, and I just start ripping into him. The Type 95 finishes him off, bringing us both to 4 kills apiece. And now it's us versus that M4 and an artillery piece. And this is where the M4, I think, makes a mistake. He's trying to peek. He puts one into my track. I'm so lucky. And from the rate of fire, you can see he's not running that howitzer. And I leave him on 6 hit points. Man, that would have been amazing to finish him right there. The arty misses me, and at this point, I'm thinking we've got to kind of start to push. Time is running out. 4 minutes and a bit left. And if the enemies are feeling that this is going to turn out to be a draw or a loss, they'll probably just force the draw and run away. So we've got to go on the offensive. And I disagree a bit with our Type 95 here. You'll see in chat that I'm a little unimpressed that he went running off alone. I would have liked us to stick together, because with 6 hit points, that M4 can't possibly kill both of us before we can get it. Like, that's just not a reality I see happening. So I don't want to split up with him. I want to stick together. It keeps us safer. There's strength in numbers. But with him going the direction he is, I'm proceeding up to high ground to try to loop around, and I'm going to make the absolute best use of cover that I can. Every time I get to a bush, I'm going to stop, wait, see if I spot him, then push on. Now, I'm not running any fancy optics on this, but he may be moving, and being impatient and just continuing to drive forward could cause me to drive right through a bush as he happens to run out from behind a rock, giving up my position and that chance at a surprise shot. So something else I'm going to be very careful of here is I do not want to hit this tree. Artillery players who are good and pay attention will see foliage and structures getting knocked down, and they will react to that. They know someone's there. It allows them to focus their aim in. But you can see our Type 95 kills the M4 with a quick, basically no-scope shot, just mouse onto him, pulls the trigger, erasing those remaining 6 hit points, and now things are starting to look up for us. I ask him to wait for me before he pushes into the base, because the last thing I want is him to get there before me, eat an artillery shell, and then me have to try to push into the base alone. With 2 of us, Artie can't possibly hit us both. First I was thinking about just going up onto this ridge, sitting in a bush, but I decided against it because depending where artillery is, there's this big rock formation in the base. He could be hidden from up on this ridge and still have shots of that Type 95 as he goes in. So I go around to get a flanking position on the base. You hear that 2-minute warning go off, still lots of time. Even if the artillery had run off to the corner of the map, the 2 of us can get into that cap and cap in the time remaining. But that warning is a nice addition because it kind of gives you a prompt, like, if I'm not thinking about getting into that cap by the time that goes off, I'm probably not thinking the right way to be winning. So that M41 gets spotted, I pull forward, and I start lighting shots into him, and the Type 95 finishes him off. The 2 of us end up combining for 10 kills. And just look at that result. Mastery badge, fighter, fire for effect, bruiser, defender, high caliber, and Confederate. Look, I think I probably put a shot into the entirety of the enemy team at one point or another. I may have only killed 4, but I did a lot of damage. And just look at that. 1,934 damage, basically 50 damage at a time. Good for 4 kills and 1,100 and some odd change in experience. I topped both teams, obviously in experience, but also in damage done. That T67, the stat padding tank that I love so much, couldn't even outperform me. And that's kind of what you have to do when you're not necessarily a big tank. You just have to keep your gun in a position that you can do damage without taking fire. Overall, I fired 53 shots, 44 hit, 38 penetrated. And most of my damage was done pretty much right in the face. I had a lot of fun in this game. I hope it can offer some insight on how to really affect the outcome of a game, particularly when you're a lower tier and not necessarily the biggest tank in the game. I'll have another video for you tomorrow, and thank you as always for watching.